Hey, Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome back to Europa Universalis 5, where we have done quite a lot in the last few episodes. We've managed to grow a gargantuan empire. The game has had a couple of updates, so some things might be broken, some things might not work. But the Malian Empire is truly a sight to behold. And I fully plan on continuing to develop it. So I have a lot of wish lists for this game, but that's neither here nor there with regards to the current VO. But I'm kind of curious of what sort of improvements can I make to my capital city? Because one thing I'm really interested in is a printer's shop. And yeah, you can see the demand for lead inside the Niani market is very high. And lead is going to be super important for the development of a print economy. And the only place that I've actually found a chunk of lead here is over here in Mancon in the Cameroon Ridge. Otherwise, I just do not see lead. There's some in Morocco. There's a little bit up here. They do have some. There's some around the place, but I definitely need to find more lead. I see some down here. But yeah, I just need to exploit this lead to a higher level. So I think something I'm probably going to look into doing is maybe going to war with Benin. And so who are their allies? They don't seem to have too many in the way of allies. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to start building a spy network in Benin. I'm going to look at what sort of casus bellis we can create against them. So yeah, I think a religious war is the play to go here. We just conquer their territory. And this way I can set up a better economic market situation over there. Now, when it comes to Mancon, I'm going to go ahead and max out the lead mines here, plus the rural smelters. The rural smelter will give a boost to the production of local lead. RGO size, if I hover over this RGO max level, it's heavily influenced by the amount of population, the amount of development, literacy, and some other factors. So if we could get a bunch of pops in here, it would be useful. Like you can see, max size is 6, whereas if we look at a place like Banfora or Niani, you can see the maximum size here is 22, largely because of this massive population and development. So something we could do if we are really struggling for lead and books is work on developing Mancon into a very powerful city. I think for now we're just going to go for the extraction side of things. I could call a crew. Oh, I did not realize that calling a jihad would instantaneously trigger a war. I thought I would get what kind of jihad would you like to call in Benin? Well, I guess we're at war now. So let's raise our army levies and we'll get to work on blasting these guys. Lovely, more of my colonies are finishing. That's wonderful. Yes. Something to consider actually is looking at the colonial map mode and grabbing ourselves some more colonies. Colonization is ongoing and effective. Centralize all of our levies. Okay, I'm going to detach my levies and I'll send them over to Western Adamwa first, so we can go siege that down. So I actually did some testing off screen. I never really talked about what our goals are this episode. So our goals this episode is to unify our country, to conquer some of the outstanding lands, to begin the full construction of the planned proximity canal system. That's going to be a big part of it. We also, because we're a land empire, we're going to be annexing all this territory and basically rebuilding it, essentially from scratch to follow this river. It's kind of hard to see the river, but you can see it's running through these cities. And this river runs all the way down to here. So this is where we want a big canal of cities that absorb population all along there. So yeah, we've got big plans, but the main plan right now is to engage in this impromptu holy war that I didn't mean to declare. So I think I'm going to go ahead and try to finish off these guys first. I need to remember, what are all my cabinet doing? Oh, that's right. I think we were increasing our control here, assimilating and settling tribesmen. I think what I'm going to do is go back to settling tribesmen. I've changed my mind about that plan, and I think getting the tribe settled is way more important than I gave it credit for, because Tribesmen are just absolutely no use to our centralized government compared to peasants. So the fact that we have nearly 1 million tribesmen inside our country is a big problem for us, because these are pops that we just literally can't use. I mean, yes, they will participate in the military, I guess, which is fine. So I've got 33,000 people who are going to assault a fortress with 90 pops in it. It cost us about 1,000 to do that assault. For the sake of speed, I will be assaulting this down. Boom. And we're going to do the same over here. Yes, it's going to cost me a lot of population, but we make 16,000 pops per month or whatever, so we can afford to spend some levies on these assaults. I don't want to stand here taking death deity god attrition, so I'm happy to burn my armies assaulting these forts. It cost me about 6,000 pops to do this, but I think it was worth it. Let me go ahead, and I think I can separate sue for peace here. I'm going to just take all of their land, all of their money, and that's them dealt with. So that's one of our war enemies killed. Now we can get to work down here on Benin. Now Benin we're not going to be assaulting. We're going to be taking a much more relaxed approach to conquering them. I'm going to enable, yeah, RGO production enabled is on. I have so much money, I need to spend it. Well, maybe it's not a terrible idea to build up some of our rural areas. So for example, we've got all these desert locations here that we could add a little bit of infrastructure to, right? I mean, salt isn't the most expensive good, but there is a little bit of a deficit. Like, salt's not a bad resource to produce. So I tell you what, we're going to come through here. This is Adrar. I'm going to build up Adrar. I'm going to build salt, obviously. I'll build sand, 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 sand. So that's these areas built. Now, in addition to that, if we check our proximity mode, there is no proximity here, and nor will there be proximity for a very long time. And I don't think you can build roads through the desert corridors. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to build bailiffs, because they will provide local proximity, giving me more control at the cost of nobles. And then since this is right on the border of a desert corridor, it's probably a great place to sponsor like fortress stuff, like so that anyone coming through the Sahara will run straight into a fortified rural village. So let's think about what else we can build. All of the laborery stuff, we should see several thousand demand. So this place will get a decent amount of migration. We could build some market villages. I kind of like it for the roleplay. I'm going to build market villages, and I'm going to have them produce glass because there's so much sand in the area. But what this will do is effectively will create a massive demand for migration here. And so slowly over the next while, the population will increase. Now we could do similar things in these other places. I don't think we need to. I would be interested in maybe making Dakla into a fortress. We can see about that. So that covers all of these. Now Atar might also be another good candidate for a castle, creating a sort of pocket in here that is protected. One thing we need to consider also is, yeah, this terrain is integrated. Should we create a pocket here of safety? We're well below our fort limit, and the market access here isn't the worst. It's not amazing either. I think creating a fortress pocket that makes it difficult for enemy forces to move around is like a perfectly reasonable thing to do, because the Sofa Stockade and the Sofa Barracks combined will create about a 5,000 or 4,000 jobs demand. With the castle, it's 5,000 jobs, which will get us a lot of migration into this location as well. So that's part of the plan. So that spent a little bit of our money fortifying this over here. Do we kind of want to do the same thing up in some of these places? As far as I can tell, Tagaza is these 3 locations here, all which produce salt. So it might not be the worst thing to, at the very least, expand the RGOs. We could create a pair of Sahara walls here. What's the market access like? It's probably bad. That's not great. Let's make sure there's a road between these 2 places at least, so you can get between these 2 locations a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm thinking if we had a bunch of fortresses down here, it could be interesting. We'll leave it for now. Oh, we found an enemy army here. Let's go get into an engagement. Now, we are a little bit low morale, but I'm hoping that this goes well for us. Yeah, our morale is dipping, but our larger army did result in us getting a lot more kills, which is excellent. So I feel safe splitting this army in half and beginning the siege of a location while I have this larger army hunting for the enemy forces. Now, we also have this desert area over here, which is already behind a fortress, so I don't think we need anything except for just to max out the sand. I'm just going to grab myself a couple of bailiffs. We already have those there. Okay, perfect. To make sure we have bailiffs in all of our sort of Sahara locations so that we can get max value from them. But also on some of our coastline here. So like this location here, it really doesn't need it. It does not need its bailiff anymore because it's getting proximity from the capital. We'll worry about that stuff later. We definitely need more wood in the Niani market. There's so much burger export. It tells you what, actually, can we produce more wood inside the Niani market? Wouldn't mind this being like a massive wood producing location. We have the terrain for it. More surplus wood we produce here, the more it gets sent out for purchase. Okay, brilliant. We've unlocked battle leadership law. Something I would love with the UI is if I unlocked battle leadership law, if I click on this, it would take me to the screen. Like, that would be magic. This is a military law. Oh, we don't have a piracy law. Oh, that's right, because we maybe wanted to do some piracy stuff. Right, battle leadership law. We've got meritocratic leadership, which will upset the nobles, but give us military tactics. And military tactics is really powerful. Getting army tradition from battles isn't bad. Ruler general is cool, but I prefer the meritocratic leadership. I think the military tactics is very, very powerful. It basically means your armies take less damage. And that is an incredibly valuable ability. All right, beautiful. So we finished annexing Gao. So in theory, once the proximity map decides to update, it'll take a moment here. Perfect. So we can reach pretty deep in here with regards to proximity. Now, when it comes to integration, it's mostly integrated. More importantly, I don't have more vassals I need to manage. I'm slowly cutting down the number of vassals so I can directly manage things. We've got a lot of ripe pops over here that we're moving into more productive lands, which is fantastic. All right, we caught out an enemy army here, so we'll go ahead and do hopefully a bunch of damage to them while we move on to keep sieging down their forts. I do love how the base tax of my capital is so high that it makes the rest of the world just dark when you're on the default base tax mode. Like, that's crazy. So as planned, we have a army here of 30 cavalry, which means our entire frontage is accounted for, and it's all cavalry, and the entire goal of this army is to run down enemies. So that's its job. Now, it's pretty expensive maintenance wise. I do wish I could get a proper maintenance breakdown of like what goods is your army actually using, like the total material cost of this army logistically, which is whatever these numbers are times 30, which I suppose if we go to weapons in the Niani market, I can never find a good way. And sometimes the tooltips are annoying and like close on me. Ugh. So you can see armories are using this, early soldier buildings are using this, the maintenance of our cavalry is using it. So it's in there somewhere anyway. Let's see, army maintenance. We spent this much on the 14th army. 30 cavalrymen. Yeah, it's just like, I want to know what I'm spending my goods on, because if I was able to tell what the actual individual goods are, I could easily delete some stuff or create some new materials. Right, so this is a attacker army. To simplify what this is a strike force whose job it is to engage enemy armies and kill them quickly. It's just like a big bunch of cavalry that smash into the enemy and do a bunch of damage. Now, if we wanted to make this army like more powerful, what we could add are some reserves. For example, right now, this army can carry 6 food. I could double this army's capacity for food by adding 3 supply carts, because supply carts can carry 2 food. So quite a bit. Now, they're relatively expensive. They require tools, copper, and leather. Or rather, for maintenance, they require like paper, medical supplies, all sorts of stuff, right, for maintenance. Which makes me think I should add at least 1 per section. Like 1 supply cart per section of this army seems like a very reasonable decision. And if we wanted to give this army staying power, right, past its cavalry, we would put a bunch of infantry in the reserve. Because the cavalry will strike quickly and hard, but they don't have the kind of staying power. And if in the reserve we have a bunch of men-at-arms ready to come up and fire. Now, I do believe Hoofness, I think these units have a unique ability to the bombard phase. The bombard phase is the opening phase of combat, which takes place before the main combat phase. So this is basically like even more artillery ability. Like you can do damage before things have even really begun to fight. So that's another way you can use artillery to optimize your army. But yeah, I like to put cavalry into position. One thing you could do is go to a half mix of cavalry, but yeah, whatever. This army will slap, and we will make it slap even harder. So now we've got supply wagons in reserve, who don't really have much in the way of combat ability. They can fight, but they're just not very good at it. And this army now has double the food capacity, meaning they can last about 4 months before they begin to starve. I'm tempted to try to make sure that this army has a year's worth of supply, which would be like 40 food capacity. I might add a bunch more supply wagons here. It does increase the maintenance cost. Maybe a year's crazy, because right now it's 4 months. I suppose if I added another group of supply carts, it's probably not terrible. Yeah, I think we'll add a few supply carts. That's good. And then something else I would like to add to the army would be, so now it's got, let's see, 18 divided by 4 is close to 5 months of supply. If I added one more supply card, it would be a full 5 months worth of supply guaranteed. So let's add another one. Then I would like to add some cannons, but I kind of want to investigate a siege over here. So if we look at the siege, we could go clear this out. Where's the siege? Okay, here. So let's see. Artillery gives, if this is higher than the level of the fort during a siege, it can give a bonus to the attacker. Artillery barrage. Yeah, I would be curious to build some artillery in this army to give them the ability to blow up forts. So this is their bombard efficiency. I don't see a barrage stat. That's something to consider. We don't have tin, so we have to recruit artillery over here. Well, that's fine. Let's recruit just one artillery, just for the sake of exploration. You know, let's sate our curiosity. Medina over here is ready to become a city, so I'm going to go ahead and found a city on this spot. And we should also, again, we kind of talked about this a few times, but we should consider the possibility of a highway of cities. If we take a look at the topography map, we want to follow flat where possible. So like this would be the only hill, and we want to avoid plateau as well. So what if we did it like boom, 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 right? Because this would be one less. But is the transportation cost of this location, it's higher, right? That's 12.5% proximity impact, whereas Flatland has none. Would it be worth it to try to avoid that? We got to think about vegetation. We got to think about topography. See, now I'm wondering, because of the fact that there's forest here, forest has a much lower impact on proximity cost, right? 25% than jungle, I think, right? Is that true? Let me just double check myself. Yeah. So now I'm thinking we want to go through the forest and avoid hills where possible. This is kind of where I wish I could see a combined topography map, but just kind of vibing it. It feels like if we were to build our canal, our superhighway through Loco, Cambai, and then around these two forests, the average proximity impact would be much lower. So now I'm thinking, let's have a look again. This is a hard one. So if we switch between these, you can kind of see what I'm talking about, right? We were originally going to kind of come down through all this forest and jungle, this 2 jungle tiles here. But what if we went through this forest area too? Because that would also allow us to just do a single jump over hills and get straight to flatlands, where we'd have to go through 2. I think it is better to go this way. And of these 2 locations, this one just has higher development. So I'm going to go through there. So we're going to go town, 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 town. And it's a question of these 2. Part of me wants to do it on the gold. Let's see. So you've got forest, which has proximity impact, whereas you have woods, which is 12.5. 12.5 is lower, so you're going to be the town. And so now we've built another proximity highway. So we'll build canals all along here. The idea being that this will help us project our proximity to the coastline. And then something we'll also do is build roads along the coast eventually. But, you know, We will get to those things. Oh, we can adopt a thingy here. It's only 20 stability at 3k. This will get us confessionalism. Let's grab it. That's going to get us a boost to our research. Perfect. We have all of the Age of Reformation institutions embraced, which is fantastic. So I'm delighted with that. The cost of my colonial maintenance has gone down below 100. I would like to be spending about 200 on that. So I'm thinking of starting a new set of colonies down here. What's our colonial migration looking like? Maritime presence in the Sahel is a bit of an issue. That's okay. But I do think if we could get a group of colonies here, it wouldn't be bad. This is a nice little bay region for us to project control. So I'll start colonizing. And what are we up to? About 137. Then let's keep on colonizing along the ridge here. One more colony should bring us up to our spending limit. Perfect. So we're spending about 200 on colonies right now, which is fantastic. So we're expanding our empire. And there's no real justification behind 200. It's just that 200 feels affordable and right. Just want to be clear. There's no real logic there. I do want to bring this army down now. I don't know how to make units go into the reserve. Like, I want to make this, the only way that I know how is if I tap the balance unit button. But even then, an artillery unit has stayed in the front line, which is kind of very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so let's take a look at this peace deal. And what kind of peace can we extract out of these guys? We want to get as much land as they would be willing to give us. That's practically everything. Let's cut back slightly. And what I might do is decide upon the exact structure of land that we want to take from when we're a little bit later. Apparently we can claim Morocco's throne. I don't know if we want to do that. Okay, perfect. We've unlocked the Lazaretto, which has a huge disease resistance boost. So since, you know, even though it's a relatively expensive building at 800 gold and takes a bunch of upkeep, I think being able to protect our coastal cities from disease has a lot of value. So we're getting no bonus against forts due to having a single artillery in here. Well, that's good to know. So you need more than one. Oh, hello. My ally brought a couple of extra siege units. So now we are getting a bombard impact. Very nice, very nice. I do wish there was a good idea of like, what dictates the success of an assault? Oh, lovely. We unlocked the House of Parliament. So we definitely want to build that in Niani. Has a lot of positive effects. Mostly the 20% crown power is very strong. So we're going to build that in Niani. That's going to be our permanent parliament seat. Now, you want to see professional armies in action. We're going to go ahead and attack this 3.8k stack is going to attack this of professional soldiers is going to attack this 5.8k stack of levies. Okay. You're about to witness a very painful lesson in professional armies. So we are currently in this battle. So we're getting a minus. Are they getting a -2 or are we getting a -2? I can't tell. They might be getting a -2. So this is the bombard phase where our cannons are firing. So he fired off a little bit, did some damage. Did you notice that all of our cavalry immediately landed on the front line and started doing damage to the enemy? Basically from day one. And again, and like only now are their units like slowly streaming into the front line, but it doesn't matter. All of our cavalry is already here dealing damage. Now, the interesting thing is the maximum frontage of this battle is actually quite low due to the jungle vegetation. So we can only bring 6 cavalry units to bear at a time. But you can see like we're taking 3 casualties, but we're doing double digits per hour of combat. So to just really put that into perspective, that cost us about 300 cavalry. I would love a breakdown of who did which damage and stuff. That'd be sick. But basically, that cost us 10% of our army in cavalry, and we did almost all of their army in damage. So this is the power of A, professional armies, and B, cavalry. And the fact that they start doing their damage so early versus levies. So hopefully that's a good demonstration. Also, we had some things going in our favor, but I think the demonstration still holds reasonably. Okay, so the only thing we're going to leave them with is South Benin province because it's too expensive for us to take. I'm going to take all their money. We could, we can't quite vassalize them. It's too expensive. But I'm going to force them to pay me war reps. We're now in control of their land. Let's start integrating this land so that we get less rebellions. So we will integrate based on population. Tribesmen will settle themselves, but land won't integrate itself. So that's why integration is more important than tribes, settling tribes. I want to focus on high population zones, integrate province, and again, high population. Perfect. So we should see some integration going ahead. And over the next little while, yeah, so take somewhere in the region like 10 years for some of this land. Some of it will be done in 4 or 5, but we'll get it under control and be able to start exploiting it. Benin has been reduced to a husk of its former self. They still control their market. We don't necessarily care about that. We will deal with that later. It's more important that we have solidified our power on the continent further. So let's go ahead and disband our levies. They did a great job for us. We have a nice little army over here. It would be good if we had a fleet that could transport this kind of army. This is the kind of template I do want to build. So for this army, I'm going to get them an extra 2 cannons. Okay, we unformed our jihad. That was successful. I'm going to enforce my culture on my vassals. I don't think I need to enforce my religion, but enforcing culture just means it's easier for me to conquer, to integrate the land after we annex them. In terms of parliament, I don't actually know what a good parliament here would be. Religious art isn't bad. Bolstering the government is nice because it just basically means we don't have to pay for legitimacy for a little while. And then we can get bolstered crown authority. So let's bolster the government. We can delete some markets, which is fantastic. The clergy or the ulema don't even pay that much tax. So like exempting them from tax, I don't even care about. And that will get our parliament support above 60, which should be pretty cozy. We could do some law changes. Speaking of law changes, sometimes this thing doesn't prompt you that you have an empty law slot. So I'm just going to quickly check. It looks like everything has a law, which is cool. Okay. Oh, looking good. Reasonably happy with this setup. We're up to 9 million population. I don't know how to get to the Great Power Screen. I used to know how to get to the Great Power Screen. There's a whole like Protestant Reformation happening up in Europe that we just don't give a damn about because we're Mali. We're based Muslims. We're chilling. Don't have to give a damn about all that. We can just focus on, you know, building a sick little empire down here. Ooh, speaking of sick little empire, we should be able to build a set of marketplaces in our new group of cities that we built. Let's get those underway. Then we're also going to want granaries. We're also going to want to max out the RGOs here to try to encourage migration. What else do we want to build? But we definitely want the temple because that gives +5 max local control, which is cool. We definitely want our burger infrastructure buildings. We'll get around to some of these other things later. So that was you built. What about you? Okay, that's the first city handled. We want to look at we want to get the temple. We want all of your infrastructure buildings. There's probably a better way to do this than just right-clicking on each one. And I found it. It's you just click on the city and you click the burgers. I forgot about that. Okay, 6. So we have a bunch of infrastructure coming up here. That's going to be important because we need people to move here so that we can turn these into cities eventually. Speaking of people moving places, we do have a settlement over here that's absorbing pops. Speaking of settlements, it's probably a good idea to get those built anywhere that we can. So as to get because settlements are great, because they give you +1% population growth and +1 migration attraction. So they let you build up a location pretty quickly to 10. You can only build settlements in places that have less than 5% their maximum population, and they disappear when they hit 10% max population. So they're great for spreading out the population of your land more reasonably and equitably. Okay, what's going on here? Why is the army numbers so weird? All right, we're still recuperating. So each section has 10 cavalry plus a artillery, which is kind of nuts. I love it. You're crazy in the coconut, but I would consider this to be a pretty damn good early game army. We could replicate this a few times over. I do wish there was a copy this unit template button instead of having to like manually build everything. But yeah, what's the food demand like? Yeah, food demand is still good. So they've got 5 months of food, which feels like a decent amount of time in war. I wouldn't be against going to 6 months of food by adding an extra 2 supply carts, but I think that would be the last like addition for the foreseeable future. It's kind of hilarious that I can build overseas trading posts in Spain. It is such a dunk on you moment. So Spain hates my guts, mostly because Castile hates my religion. Can I change your opinion here? No, I don't think so. I think Castile just hates my religion too much. Macuria is definitely someone I want to go to war with because I would love to span like the Sahara and down. Like that would be a sick goal to pull off. Perfect. So we bolstered the crown authority, giving us a little bit of extra power. Go beer here. What sort of casus bellis could I create? I could create a religious war against them. I don't think I can call it jihad, so I'm going to start building a spy network in there. Now, I know my spending is a little bit high on colonies, but this one is right adjacent to us, so it feels right to start a colonial charter right there. Okay, we have a new Mansa. Oh, hello. So the colony of Pyreba has finished. So we could form a new colonial subject, or play as them, or keep it as part of Mali. I don't know what the advantage of having a colonial subject is, but I'm going to go ahead and form a new one. Oh, interesting. What I would like to do is I would love to get army over here of a similar size to the one I have in the Malian Empire, to where what I might just do is bring back my fleet here to Medina. Do they not want to make the journey? What is wrong, good sir? Where are you? Okay, they're on the way here. I was going to send them to Medina, and they'll take the trade winds back. Now, we have a fleet here capable of carrying 1,200. I think we're going to need a bigger boat. So let me go to my research queue. Is there maybe a better Age of Discovery ship that we could grab here? Like an older tech ship maybe that we could scoop up real quick. So we've got a flute here, which would have room for a 400. So I wish I could control click this to add it to the front of the tech queue. It's going to cancel everything before it so that we can get the better transport ship. And with our brand new city, I'm going to make sure that we build... Well, I would like to build a library, but I definitely want my theater, my marketplace, and my counting house. And that's our basic infrastructure. We're also going to want granaries. There are masons in here, which is fine. We don't need lumber mills. Seems like wood is not very highly in demand here. Sturdy grains is maxed out already. And we'll keep those under construction. Yeah, and I would like to conquer this colony here of Pyreba in order to unify my power in this area. So Potigara is beneath Venice. Now Venice, diplomatically, if we were to declare war on them, we're a lot stronger than them. We just have to get a military down there that is relatively untouchable. And so that's why we're working on the boat stuff. So this will become a colonial army. Colonial Strike Force. I'm going to rename it. And we'll build a new one as well. We'll do a swapsies. Don't worry about that. Looks like some sort of independence war has been invoked. Let's put our shiny new professional army to the test without raising levies. We'll keep an eye on how many armies they're able to levy, and then that'll decide whether or not we raise levies. But yeah, raising levies actually has a downside, by the way. If we were to raise all levies, the population actually gets raised and can be lost, but also we lower our food and raw materials output, so it has a significant impact on the financial capabilities of our country, which I don't like. I want to be rich. All right, Bono is still disloyal, so they won't allow me to annex them. Ouagadougou is also disloyal. Namaro will let me annex them, so I'll begin the process. They should go nice and quick. We have finally discovered Castile. Oh man, I would love to invade this and turn it, like, do a bit of reverse colonization, you know what I mean? Like, how do you guys feel about the reconquista? The reconquista. All right, let's go pick a fight with these unprofessional soldiers. We are taking a lot of damage, but we are slaughtering. Slaughtering, I say. Yes, okay, so we've unlocked the flute. Let's go to Zazu. There was stuff from the Age of Renaissance that might be worth grabbing. I haven't made use of all of my culture capacity. That's one thing that I'm probably failing at. So yeah, let's spend our prestige to actually use this cultural capacity that we have. It'll add a little bit of happiness to some of the pops we do have in our country. Okay, perfect. We added a bunch of accepted cultures, which should increase the average happiness of our country a little bit, increase our average control, etc. We're nudging. We're just nudging the needle. Let's have a look at the Age of Reformation. Pop conversion speed. God, that's so good. Clergy rights, trade maintenance, artillery bonus versus fort. So good, so good, so good. I'm going to take that pop conversion speed because that's actually going to do work for us. Now, I believe we were working on something somewhere that had to do with construction. Here it is, construction center. So we want the construction center. We also want the merchants quarter because it's an upgrade to the marketplace. Bigger RGOs, cheaper artists, which mainly we want for the for more government reforms. Perfect. I am kind of curious, what is our religious unity? It's actually 67%. So if we go by the religion map mode, we've done a pretty good job. converting our territory. It's not like completely clear, but like we're making progress. You know what I mean? Like it's happening. Oh, some Catholics over here. Oh no, I was gonna say, like, I think these are all Catholic slaves that they have here. Good job, Morocco. I kind of think it would be hilarious if you enslaved enough of a particular country's population, could you then make that group your primary culture? I think that would absolutely be hilarious to do. Great challenge run if you're ever into doing challenge runs. So we are getting +1 artillery impact from this siege, which is good to know that 3 things. This doesn't need to be a pop-up, but it is good to know that 3 artillery will get you the bonus. So let's take these boats. I want to upgrade them all because currently they carry 300. So upgrading them should increase their stats. If we go to the Navy builder mode, yeah, these have 5 cannons and 15 hull size, which makes them actually pretty damn big combat vessels relative to some of the stuff that I have knocking around from ye old days. Whereas these guys are 4 cannons, size 12. So yeah, they will be significantly better. We will have to rebuild and refill them. Now, if you guys carry 400 people each, in order to get the transport capacity for my army here, who I think tops out, yeah, so I'm going to need 4,000, which is 10 hulks or 10 flutes. So let's build another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flutes to reinforce this army. So there is confessionalism, which is going to massively increase the rate at which we convert people to our religion across our country. Yeah, perfect. So that'll have positive downstream effects in a variety of ways. One of the big ones is going to be religious unity, which will increase the clergy estate satisfaction, which will result in us taxing them more. The other effect it's going to have is by increasing the average satisfaction, because people who follow our religion, yeah, you can see here, these peasants have a lower happiness because our tolerance of their religion is really low. Whereas the other types of peasants, if we can show this, the regular mossy peasants, they're super happy. They like it. These guys unhappy, these guys happy. So convert now. Yeah, this attrition is pretty painful for professional armies. But we will flip this in a moment. The attrition has actually led to us losing our artillery impact bonus, which is good to note. Ooh, the War of Religions has begun. The Protestant Union against the Catholic League. Have fun, Europe. Lol. Enjoy your wars, nerds. We don't have to wonder about what we believe in. We believe in being based. All right, our siege went through. I'm going to give these guys a chance to recover, I hope. All right, manpower has been refilled. I'll give it 1 more month, then we'll go see if we can win this fight here against... Oh, there is some professional army in there. We should, in theory, win. Cost us a lot of casualties, but our army was way more professional. Oh, yes, we have the construction center. This is so big. Dude. So we just researched the construction center, which is a game changer, because normally you can only build 1 building at a time in a location. Specifically cities and towns. This is going to allow us to double that for cities and increase by 50%, or for towns, and basically it's +1. It's really powerful. It's going to allow us to shape our country way faster. And so for that reason, along this particular superhighway, I'm going to be building those construction centers. Remember, our superhighway exists to build up, like, the faster we can build buildings, the faster we can increase the immigration demand, the faster we can increase the immigration demand, the faster these places reach their potential. What's going on with Linguère? It doesn't even have a... I might downgrade this city because it's not even on a river. I'm gonna downgrade it. Boom. No longer a city. We are gonna want like some rural stuff, but not right now. All right, so we've got our construction sectors going. Oh, dude, that's sick. Okay, we finished improving relations with Egypt. Does that mean we can build trade offices in them? I don't understand why I can't. It does not make sense to me. My brain is small. My brain. You know what? I'm tired of this war dragging on. Time to raise the levies. 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 Levy, 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 levy. What else do we have? Okay. grab all these levies. I'll just group them up over here. Okay, sick. We have finished integrating Enugu. So let me integrate another place with lots of population. Also, I need to put a cabinet member in there. You, good sir. Alrighty, what's going on here? Alright, let's throw the peasants at some fortresses. Oh, sick. We just unlocked the Merchant's Quarter. Yes. So the Merchant's Quarter is basically, it's 50% more trade advantage and trade capacity, better trade capacity as well. But it does consume more resources, but that's actually not a bad thing because we like things to consume resources because it creates demand in our economy. So this is going to be a merchant quarter upgrade bonanza starting in Niani and radiating down our control. Oh, it's beautiful to see two buildings being built at the same time. And this is why it's good to have a really strong masonry and glass production because I can build so much stuff at the same time for a very low price. And it ain't even that big of a deal. Also, I love that I'm building 3 of them at a time in my capital. It's like ridiculous. All right, we're assaulting this fortress in order to prevent the enforced peace that could potentially be enforced against us. So we're continuing to assault here. We're almost breaking it. Oh, come on, give me one more. There we go. So now that there has been progress in the war, every time we reach maximum morale here, we consolidate our regiments and balance, and then we assault. Yes, we're going to burn a lot of manpower doing this, but we need to do this before they can enforce a peace. We annexed Namaro, which is great, beautiful. We've almost, so that now we control this land over here. That's fine, perfect. I just need this siege to go through. Come on, give me another siege. There we go. Okay, so now they're not going to be able to enforce a peace upon us. Because basically, that's a gameplay mechanic that prevents stagnation. Now, somehow I'm also at war with Gobir, which is worth investigating in its own right. I just burnt like 10,000 population to win this war more decisively. So I'm wondering if I were to try and sue Gobir for peace. We don't think we could fully annex them. Yeah, no, it's too expensive to make them a vassal, but we could definitely take a bite out of them, which suits me just fine. We can have another parliament. Now, we do have a permanent parliament location. Supporting the integration progress is nice. Let's do it. Change policy, nobles of the robe. So right now we have dynastic administration. They want me to switch to a nobility-based thing, which I don't want to do. I'm okay with preserving traditional ideas because we just lose a little bit of our innovativeness. But that will just squeak us past the parliament support that we need. And then a tax exemption for these guys, again, just really doesn't matter. And then we've basically got guaranteed parliament support, which is fantastic. So I'm going to build some more construction sectors because they do something incredibly unique for my nation, which is effectively increase the rate at which I can influence my country. There are a bunch of cities over here I'm probably going to downgrade because I kind of want the population to disperse to other locations. But for now, I will leave them. All right, finish this siege. Let's zip over to these guys. These were a revolter, so we can annex them. So we actually want to go fight Gobir first so that we can steal a chunk of land from them too. Now, one thing that we can do to actually help our country out a bit is if we look for places that have stone, like right here, this entire area is a really good candidate for masonry, for masons, because masons built here will actually have a 10% bonus production efficiency. So it's a good way for us to make sure that the price of masonry stays at a good price for us. And we can do the same with clay. So I think that's definitely something I want to do, is to make sure we're producing masonry with stone in these areas for that very nice production efficiency boost. And masonry is one of those resources that it's just always good to have it be cheap. Makes upgrading, converting your buildings to a higher level better. So let me find some more stone. Okay, there's some over here. So Futajellan would also be a great location for masons. And actually, I think I already did this in Futajellan. I did, perfect. Oh yeah, and stone is produced over here as well. So let's make sure we have those masons maxed out in Saloum. Anyway, it's not a huge priority, but the vast majority of buildings that you want to build, right? If I come in here and I want to build a merchant's quarter, it's going to use masonry and a little bit of glass. So important just to keep that in mind. Our empire is so incredibly hungry for iron that I want to build it everywhere that I can. And then also We're gonna build these bog iron smelters purely to increase our access to iron. We're that hungry for iron, especially with all these construction centers being built. Construction centers consume a lot of tools. The main way that you produce tools is with iron. So we should continue to see the GDP of our country go really high. That's the noise that it makes as it goes up. It's nice. We finished integrating East Igbo. Let's go ahead and integrate a new place. I would like to integrate Ife here. Make sure that we don't want to see any red. When we're in this integration map mode, seeing red is not good. Dark brown, that kind of color, that's a colony. That's fine. We don't want to see red. Yellow, we can live with yellow. We love green, okay? Hate red, okay with yellow, love green. That's the way we want to do things, and that's why you integrate land. Okay, successful siege here. Let's go fight these guys. So many forts to burn through. I almost said, Jesus Christ. Jason Bourne. Burning through. So if we look at the canal superhighway that we've been very slowly working our way towards building, Sanding, I believe, has its construction center. So we should be able to basically increase the migration attraction of this town twice as fast. So right now, most of the migration is coming from the high development, the prosperity, market price is quite nice too, the available free land is okay. So what we need to do is we need to create a whole bunch of surplus work jobs for people that they can see like, oh, this is a great place. Like there's a bunch of opportunity here. So we need to move here. Because right now, most of my people are moving to places that I have settlements, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like Baromo here, I mean, it's not even getting most of our migration, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we need this. This will get migrated in. It has a really high migration attraction due to its situation. It'll get there. Once it hits 14k pops, they'll stop migrating there. But we need to get Sam Standing built up. And so we can add 4,000 jobs by building wheat here. And what's nice about this is, A, it'll increase the food availability in the location. B, it will increase the production efficiency for buildings that rely on wheat. C, the jobs, etc. So now let's have a look. We definitely want to build up. We want our granaries, because that's good for population growth. Masons are always nice in terms of buildings. We want our infrastructure buildings, plus maybe some, like one of each building isn't terrible because it gives the town the ability to produce a diversity of goods to meet the needs of my empire. It just creates a lot of jobs potential. One of the ways that we can really increase jobs potential is by picking one of these laborer things, which would cause a lot of migration. But I'm going to focus on the burger side of things. And I'm going to do basically the same thing in all the places that we want to build up our economy in. Make sure we build one of each building just so that there is some productivity of something, even if it's massively overproduced for what my economy really needs. The important thing is it exists, and therefore my economy becomes more flexible. It's not exactly riveting gameplay to just click on a bunch of cities like this, but watching these cities fill with their new populations will be very rewarding. So there's kind of a procedure to this, right? Like you click the place, you max out the RGO, you check the infrastructure buildings, you build them all, you max them out, then you build one of each building, just because that'll create a diversity of jobs and potential. We don't have to, it's a way we don't have to think about what we actually need. Then you quickly check your infrastructure, boom, you're good to go. Timbuktu, max out the RGO. Then we grab our infrastructure buildings. And then we grab one of each manufactory, we move on to the next one, max out RGO. Yeah, we're out of money. We spent all our money, but we spent it on good stuff that will hopefully in the long run provide us with a diverse and powerful economy. So Sao Francisco has become a thing. Now let me have a look at the area map mode. Sao Francisco is in a different area. So I'm thinking I'm going to allow it to become its own colony here, forming a new colonial subject. We could add it to the existing one, but I'm going to form a new colonial subject here, Sao Francisco, and their capital is here. I probably do want to invest in them to make sure that they have what they need. But yeah, we're starting to get little colonies over here, which will lead to trade potential between our markets. You can already see there is some trade happening here. Things are getting exported, things are getting imported. I do wish this marketplace wasn't here. It's fine that it is. What I might do is actually just build a new market, despite the fact that it has market access. Yeah, we'll do that down the road. Okay, what can I get from Go Beer? I think I can get Kebi Province plus money from them, which is plenty. Thank you. And then we can annex a revolter and get a chunk of money out of them. Boom. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and disband all of our levies and bring the boys home. So, feck, I forget what I was doing. I have a fleet that I need to bring a ship down here because I want to attack Portogara and expand down here. I also need to do other things. Ooh, annexing vassals. All right, let me check. Does anyone need my culture enforced? Okay, somebody switched back. Massa? Nope. You gotta have my culture. Do I need to enforce a religion on anyone? Nope. Let's start some annexation, right? Bono, you're done. Perfect. I'm gonna annex Wa as well. And I think 2 at a time is a reasonable amount because it'll slow down both, but not by too much. So we just got a new government reform, which is gonna allow us to adapt a new reform in our council here, which is probably a good time to review what we have in place. So right now we have autocracy, which is giving crown power and aristocracy. The crown power probably isn't as useful as it used to be, especially when we consider that the aristocracy is making the nobles way more powerful. Really what I like, personally speaking, is for aristocracy and plutocracy to be around 0, so that I'm not making either the burghers or the nobles more powerful than they need to be, which means I'm optimizing the total power of my crown. And the thing that makes this aristocracy so bad, right, for making the nobles more powerful is because it's a double whammy, right? Not only does it increase the amount of nobles in your country, it also increases the political power of those nobles. So getting rid of a little bit of aristocracy here and maybe even drifting towards plutocracy might not be a terrible idea. And then we can use our cabinet to manage this, to keep it below. Ideally, I would like to keep this below like 25% in either direction. So right now it's really bad. So I'm going to have a look here and see if there's any nice government policies that would give us plutocracy. So plutocratic ethos would give us some plutocracy, which I think I'm going to go ahead and grab. The legislative efficiency is nice too, with the parliament base support and the monthly progress towards plutocracy. So that's going to dismantle some of the power of the aristocracy. We still need to take away a little bit more. I'm wondering if I can switch autocracy with a different reform. Now that is going to cost us about 20 stability. Making the nobles happier would actually get us a significant amount of money. We currently are plus 28 towards capital economy, so we can tank a little bit of traditional economy push. Like, it won't be such a big deal. Plus the extra loyalty on subjects is really nice. I do like the tax efficiency here, but I don't like that. Privy Council is nice too. We are still at max centralization with some spare centralization drift. So this would just be straight up more money. I would have liked to have made my estates a little bit happier, but I do think that Privy Council is going to give us enough tax efficiency to be worth it. So I'm going to switch from this to Privy Council for that tax efficiency. And then I should really consider as to whether or not I want to keep black chambers either. I mean, the drift towards innovative and outward is really nice, but maybe there's something better here. Like, religious laws being enforced would push us towards a more traditionalist economy or more traditionalist worldview where it's harder to embrace institutions. But that pop conversion speed would be really nice. I also like mandatory bureaucrat education. +5 max literacy could have long-term rippling effects. So I think I'm going to go for mandatory bureaucrat education. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but I think that 5% literacy is worth it. I'm not going to change the Mandan Karufa because that is our major reform. So we'll just leave that the way it is. Now, where is our aristocracy? Yeah, we need to get rid of something in here. Or we need to grant something to the burghers. There's nothing we can give to the burghers, so we would probably have to revoke something from these guys. Monetary fiefs is fine. I probably don't have an issue with revoking land rights. Serfdom is fine. Royal marriage rights is fine. Elaborate court life is fine. Elite council is fine. We can leave that there. Yeah, if I was going to revoke something, it would be land rights. What would I grant them? There's nothing I would consider granting them right now, so I looked through the list. I didn't see anything that fit my vibes, so we're just going to leave it. Now, tech-wise, I think we did a bunch of teching over here. I'm not seeing anything in the Age of Discovery that I really feel the need to like, oh, I must have this. I suppose speed of integration is nice. That'll be nice to consolidate territory. 5% discipline is really good. I suppose Cavaliers is good. It makes our nobles into like useful military units. And then I suppose resource output isn't bad for our economy. And then again, more resource output. More council actions is also always welcome. I wouldn't mind my maritime presence decaying less. That will be useful, although I don't think these are necessarily necessary down here. So once we finished all this, we're going to start researching a little bit of the Age of Reformation here. Now we definitely want to get these government reforms in the crown power, so we'll kind of make our way over here. Okay, so I've deployed a colonial army to South America. It's a full stack with the guns and the cavalry and everything that we needed to have, which means I feel ready to declare war on Portugal. So I'm going to get that war sort of out of the way now. They have a whole bunch of allies now, you annoying jerks. Oh, we'll leave that for now. Never mind. We'll beat them on the economic side of things by focusing on that instead of just starting a big old colonial war. I'll bring the other army back to my country so I can build it up to be a more modern force. Is it better to have a lot of colonial subjects? I don't know. So what is special about a colonial nation? Let's have a look here. We share exploration. It can't be annexed. I can build whatever I want in them. They're diplomatically limited by me. They can start their own wars. It costs a little bit of diplo capacity. They pay something to me. They give me their trade. So is it better to have one big strong colony or better to have a lot of little colonies? I don't know. Right now I'm going to operate on the assumption that it's good to have one big old colony. And we should actually help these guys out with some road building because they're going to have trouble propagating their power. So let's build up their economy for them. I think it's better to have a few small vassals. Oh, they're no longer economic hegemon. And the reason is because they'll be able to convert this territory to my culture and religion for me. And I don't have to worry about the rebellions or whatever. Like I only have to worry about that indirectly, which has value. Right, I have a whole bunch of roads coming online over here so that when our proximity starts to propagate further, it will reach a little bit more. One of the ways we could help that proximity propagation, if we do a little bit of an investigation, like Jenny is having an outsized cost on propagation here, which is unfortunate. We're down to a very low number of peasants in Niani due to a sort of lack of migration here. So it may be worth our while to cull some of the less productive buildings that we have. Like, do we really need 22 masons in here? Because we're currently at 30 buildings over the cap. So I'm going to cull a few of our lowest performing buildings, and hopefully that production will get shifted elsewhere. Let's see, 37. We're still 20 buildings over. I'll cut the amount of masons we have in here by about 6. Then we're over by 20 buildings, which isn't as bad. Yeah, we have no peasants here, which is, you want to have some peasants, right? It's not ideal to have no peasants. Brilliant. So we integrated another piece of territory. Dikwa has been integrated. Let's go ahead and make sure that we integrate their next highest population, which is Kano. Boom. Keep that underway. I do wish it was possible for me to ban slavery inside my country, because I don't actually want to have slaves. It's just that my estates keep building these slave markets that create them. And slave markets will slowly convert a small percentage of your population to slaves. I don't want that. A bunch of my colonies have finished, so we could start a few more. Oh, hello. We colonized South America here. Take a look at some raw materials. It's not a bad mix. Some of the land down here to the south is pretty marginal, so I may focus on colonizing Africa primarily, because that's where I want my power base to be. Something I should also consider is, where do I want my development to appear? Because if I have a few colonies coming from Medina in Temne, they might get the colonial charter boost. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll grab a few colonies coming from Temne. That'll get us a nice development boost in the area. So it looks like we've successfully made a colony down here. Let's form a new colonial subject. They're going to get themselves a nice little market. We'll let them handle themselves for now, but we'll eventually invest in them. for trade purposes and all that jazz. Right now, my focus is to try to make sure that Medina over here is getting the colonial charter bonus to its development. Yeah, and it is. Okay, perfect. My capital has 100% development, which is insane. I've never seen that before playing this game. Cool though. I do think it wouldn't be completely insane for me to pick at least one location in all of my coastal areas here that would act as a local city for the pops. I'm trying to think what would make a good candidate. I mean, the gems here could be well served by having a city on top. So I'll build a town right there. Then St. Paul River. We've got rice fish sand. I'll go with Meserado because it has the highest proximity, so I'll get the most benefit from this being a town. We'll upgrade you to a town. And the idea here is just having a town in each province allows us to do efficient production. We can create manufactories like, oh, we want to produce a good that uses rice. This is the place to produce it. That's the basic concept there. On the Guinean coast, they all more or less have the same harbor capacity, but I'm either going to build it on the rice, the fish, or the medicaments. I mean, the lumber is also not a bad one to build it on. I think Kakino here is jungle. Why is your pop capacity so high? 126k. Jungle does give a ton of pop capacity, but it also kills your proximity impact. You know what? 132 versus 126. Bokeh, congratulations. You are now a city. Wait, let me check. Are you on a river? Yeah, you got rivers. All right, where's the next province? So we've got this one. Probably Bafata is the best option because it's gonna be the most developed. Yeah, it's already got 19 development. So Bafata it is. Boom. And then I gotta think about this one. Maybe a city on the cotton in Tankalar. Perfect. It's good to be near the market center for trade reasons, for productivity reasons. Yeah, you want your cities to be near your market centers, ideally. Perfect world. So this little place doesn't have a city. Maybe we should put it coastally. Coastal cities have like some unique advantages and buildings that they can build, so I will. And I'm pretty much going to follow that same logic for all the locations here that have just a single coastal province. So we'll get a few towns in here. And so having a sprinkle of towns is useful for production efficiency reasons, because it means we can build more production centers on top of where resources are actually built, which gets you up to a 10% production efficiency bonus. I don't like that my name has moved over to the right side. I miss it being near my capital. My name is here now instead of over here. Man, why'd you come back? I had you in a place I liked. Lovely. The refined Siger process is finished, plus we finished integrating Ife. So let's look for a new location to integrate. Kebi over here is 166,000 population. We finished integrating another province, although there was a misfire? Oh, weird. Whatever. Slowly we're getting rid of all that red. All that annoying red. Oh, hello. West Big Igbo has been finished. Now we need to get rid of the red, and then we can start working on the yellow and stuff like that. But the red first. Naguru has 101,000 population, so we'll go ahead and integrate that next. And the reason we focus on the higher population first is because not being unintegrated increases the amount of rebellion. Higher population areas are going to have a more powerful rebellion. It's very simple, just straightforward calculus. It's like, not want rebel, make rebellion weaker. So we could start a new colony in La Plata. I'm going to let it join Genora. Nice little colony for us. Developing the interior would be handy because it would give us proximity impact and also development across a bunch of different places and cheaper urban buildings, which would allow us to do a massive expansion of our city. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Also, I get to delete a bunch of burger mansions. Absolutely. And festival grounds, dismantling the political power of some of the estates in my country for my own benefit. Hell yes. So let's go to our urban map mode. We can start work on our super highway. So we have all of our clergy buildings in here, maxed out RGOs. We've maxed out our infrastructure buildings. You have a population deficit, so your surplus of work will pull in new population. Available free land is also working. Probably one of the best ways that we can get new pops to move to you. Another way would be to build a bunch of irrigation because this gives population capacity. It wouldn't be that much in the way of population capacity. It wouldn't be too bad either, though. Population growth is coming largely from the available free land and prosperity. This is a food producing region, so honestly maxing out irrigation in here isn't terrible. It does cause a demand increase for tools, and tools are one of those goods that are just terminally impossible to get enough of, just like iron is impossible to get enough of. So we'll just build all of the workshop types in here, and then we'll move on to the next place, do the exact same thing, build all the buildings. It doesn't matter if they're not profitable, they will create jobs demand. Waounde here can become a city, which is fantastic, which means we probably don't need to do the mass construction thing that we were doing. Instead, we could just go straight to a city in here. I think it's 30,000 population is what you need to become a city. So creating demand for jobs for that level of people is the play. So I spent about 10,000 gold building. I'll just give you an update of what I did. Like pretty much maxing out the construction queues throughout this super highway. So again, that we can generate a surplus of jobs, which should create a high development highway, basically. The idea being that this is all along a river. Now, I'm probably doing this wrong. There's probably a better way to make the superhighway of cities work, but I don't really care. I'm having fun. I do think the Medina one I think I did right, because the cities follow the actual path, well, except for Timbo here, which could almost become a city in of itself. Speaking of which, well, I'll save up a bit of money before I invest in these. To 500k burgers, I would like more of those. Getting as many burgers as possible has been kind of the goal since the beginning of the game, and I've been failing. Well, my main goal was to get a whole bunch of money. That's what I really wanted to begin with. Burger stuff came after that. I should probably build up this army. Now, what did we go with? We went with regular cavalrymen, didn't we? Because, oh, perfect, we finished integrating. Hold on. A bunch of people coming of age that we need to manage. Yeah, we built cavalrymen because they don't require tools, which heavy cavalrymen do, which makes them a lot more expensive. Could definitely make cloth and weaponry cheaper. Is it control to build 5? So I need 10, 20 more horsemen, plus I'm going to go with 10 supply carts, I guess. Oh, we can't afford it. All right, we'll hold off on that. But we have cavalry on the way. Let's integrate Yauri next, because that has 99,000 population, which is a healthy amount. We get more copper and tin. I don't think we actually even make much of those resources, but it's not a big deal. It's just important that we get them. Finish developing the interior. That's going to help with our proximity cost ever so slightly due to the land focus. France has declared war on us. Why? Parliament approved claims. All right. Somehow we lost our alliance with Morocco. That's what's happened there. This should be fine. It might be an opportunity for us to snatch up a bit of the land that they have. So for that reason, I'm going to raise all my levies and I'll begin a mass recruitment campaign for military in the not too distant future. You need at least 3 Hoofnices. Hoofnai. 1, 2, 3, just to be able to siege better. And then at least a few supply carts. I'll go with not 47. 10 is fine. Grab all of these levies. Send them to join together into stacks. France has a lot of troops. What is the makeup of their troops? That looks very professional, which is a bit of a problem if they can get some professional armies landed. I'll tell my fleets to blockade ports in the Gulf of Guinea down here. And the hope is that this will make it harder for our enemies to resupply. Okay, we have a levy army over here. Let's bring it down to the front. I feel like I'm missing levies. There it is. It was hiding underneath a tinier stack. It's one of the few times that the outliner actually came in handy here, even if it does cause crashes, supposedly, from what I've heard. Okay, we're on the tactical map mode, which should make military stuff a little bit easier. What I want is like a war map mode that makes it easy to tell. Like, if this tactical map mode more clearly marked where enemy territory was, it would be awesome for war stuff. But unfortunately, it doesn't. Right, my subjects are disloyal. Why are you disloyal? I see. Let me go ahead and support your loyalists. And the same is probably true in Bono. Okay, let me support your loyalists. That'll get the annexation to go through a little easier. Here comes a French fleet with what looks like 16k troops on it. I'm tempted to assault here to get this conquered as fast as possible. Our light ships seem to have lost to enemy transports, which is kind of funny. I was hoping the siege would be done by now. And then they just landed troops here. No! Are these professionals? Oh god, they are. We need to recruit a gargantuan amount of infantry. Yeah, France has a really big military. I'm wondering what they want. They would take war reparations and releasing Oyo. What if I gave them a bunch of money? Basically, I just need time. Oyo isn't that important to me, so I would like to not give war reps. So if I release Oyo, I can get a truce here and buy myself some time to build up a real military to be able to fight them the next time round. So I'm going to send this offer. They're going to take that deal. I'm going to disband my levies, and we're going to properly transition now to a professional military. So part of that's going to be cancelling all the stuff that we are researching, because we need to go into the Age of Reformation and get better units. Let's see. Pistoliers are a type of cavalry. Arquebusiers, there we go. 800-man stack. Arquebusiers would be the right type of unit to go towards. Now, to maintain that, it's going to require a lot of guns, a lot of weapons, and a lot of leather. So let's do it. We'll start moving towards arquebusiers. Might take us a few years. We have a truce with France for some amount of time. But yeah, let's begin the investment into armories in our capital market. The idea here is we create a big demand for the stuff that armories require. Armories generally require the stuff that you need to recruit units. See here? I can show you if I zoom in here. Guns. Ah, God. The tooltips in this game can be a little bit annoying. Guns, leather, cloth, paper, and weapons. So we're going to start making those in spades. Dak Agilan has plenty of space left. Let's make a maxed out gunsmith that we're subsidizing. Where are we producing iron? Because I think weaponsmiths like having iron in their location. Let me see. What are weapons made of again? Mostly wood, actually. Believe it or not. Well, let's crank out better weapon workshops. Wait, weapon workshops use lumber, coal, iron, and tools. So we will actually get a nice benefit to our production efficiency due to the iron and lumber in here. I would definitely like to build many weapon workshops here to supply my economy. Now, I don't think I'm going to bother raising levies anymore because I don't think they're good enough to hold up against professional armies. I was getting away with it against these kind of countries, but fighting France is a different story. I am not going to get away with that anymore. So I have 7 years to prepare for France's next attack. Nice, we finished integrating some territory. Now, the good news is we concede low quality territory to France until we're able to punch back. Keep on integrating for me, please. Another province over here. Just trying to lower the chance of rebellions. The less rebellions we have to deal with, the better off we are. How's our religion, actually? Because our religion should be spreading pretty good. Our religious unity should be relatively high. Yeah, 67% with little to no effort from my part. That's pretty good. Rankul Mapu is this area here. I'm going to let it join Juonwa, or whatever this is called. And I would love to invest in this country, but I've got a fight with France that I need to do. Also, Morocco. You like nuked our alliance, bro. What gives? You don't think I can take France, Morocco? How dare you? So infantry need guns, leather, and weapons, right? Let me just double check that. The arquebusier is a regiment that requires guns, weapons, and leather. So I'm mass producing leather in Bamako, I'm mass producing weapons in Dak Agilan, and I'm mass producing weapons in Dira Bakoro. And I have a ton of armories underway. We're going to need more weapons. Let's see. Kulakoro. What I'm going to do, I want to build weapon workshops where we have a ton of peasants. Sine Nagayen, congratulations. You just became the weapon workshop of the empire. You just became the armory, the forge. Nice, we gained some cores. Subsidize this. I also want a maxed out tannery that is subsidized, and a maxed out gunsmith that is subsidized. You know, my little forge. So we have a bit of a lack of tools in Dira Bakoro, which is gonna make weapons quite expensive to produce. Wood, we're even on. We definitely, yes, we need so many tools. Tools are one of those things that you never have enough tools. All right, we're economic hegemon. We finished annexing one of our vassals. So we'll get the proximity and control updates next month. I do want to look for where we have more iron in our country. So there's iron here, which means the city of Tabu here, because there's iron being produced in Narina, this would be a great armory. Similarly, Bela over here in Capel has iron, so it wouldn't be a bad place for us to produce tools here. It could actually become a city pretty easily. So this is hills, woods, and inland. Tropical. Is there better terrain there? Let me have a look. We've got topography. I think plateaus aren't as bad. We do have a flatland here, which is where this city could go. Flatland is better because it has no penalties, whereas plateau has penalties to the long-term development and proximity attack ability. What's the market access here? It's pretty low. There could be justification to build another market in the area. It would fight with Medina, which I don't love. And it would also fight with... I think I'm just going to accept the slightly lower productivity to build on this flat chunk of land. Even if it's not completely perfect, this will be a nice forge. Oh, damn. Aragon has been smashed. Morocco is rocking it, man. The Niger Delta is ready to be integrated. It's 43,000 people. It'll take probably not too long, honestly. Yeah, like a year. The Medina market is having trouble getting access to paper. Let me have a look. What is it looking like in here? Yeah, -7. Is hemp produced anywhere nearby? Fiber? No. We could build a fiber crop farm and a bunch of paper. What are we looking at building slot wise? Plenty of slots for buildings. So I might just max out the paper production here because that's a useful empire wide sort of material. Plus it'll get more migrants coming into the city. So you can see the migration is happening along the canal that we're trying to build. Kulakoro is almost at the 30k pops that we need. What are we looking at in terms of colony expenditure? We have a lot of spare room for colonies, so I reckon we should keep setting them up. Colonies provide a lot of long-term value, so I see it as a good investment in the future of the Malian Empire to do this. Also, I want to start colonizing Patagonia. What are we at cost-wise? 200 is a lot. The land down here is pretty marginal, but it would be nice to have control over it. We are now 1 tech away from getting access to the arquebusiers, which should be this age's most advanced infantry, and we'll be able to put them to good use against our enemies, namely France. France is our enemy, let's be real. Genuinely, I'm considering building a market here in Mancon to be able to use the lead, like maybe a market in a city. Well, maybe I shouldn't build it on top of this location. It's like woods and hills. It's actually mountains. There are flatland tiles on the other side that I could probably convert better. But the thing is, I want this place to have... what dictates RGO level again? It's a combination of population and development. God, lead. Like, my markets are so hungry for lead. It's actually insane. Can I export like 10 trade capacity worth of lead to Niani? No, I'll go with 30. Okay, which of these tiles would be best suited for a city? Let me have a little think about this. So if I built the city on the lead, right, it would be a bad location because of the mountains, which would significantly slow development growth in here. In fact, development growth will be relatively slow in here anyway because of that. It doesn't even have a river as far as I can tell. No, it does have a river. But population would then eventually lead to more RGO. Let me have a look at Niani, because Niani has an insane number of levels, mostly coming from development. Even though the population is huge in here, the vast majority of this is coming from development. So I think what I'm going to do is the next time one of my guys finishes integrating some territory, I'm going to start developing this terrain here so that we can get access to more lead. I'm going to build a manufactory here whose job it is to make books. I'm going to make a printing press somewhere in here. I need to pick which one I want it to be. The sand isn't very important. Where do I want my printing press? Let's take a look at the topography. So it's all plateau and woods. One thing we can do to subsidize this place and get it a little bit of extra growth is by building irrigation ditches. That will increase the local food production, but more importantly, it'll increase the population capacity, which will drive some baseline pop and migration growth. Forest villages would produce leather. I do like the idea of just cracking down a bunch of forest villages here on top of that, just so that we get a baseline migration amount. Genuinely though, we have a serious lead issue. Like, we do not have enough lead. Now, question, is lead making it in to Niani for the printer's shop? We're importing it and it's being used by printers, but then it's getting exported. Not ideal. Making it hard to make books. Wait, are you actually still making books? What? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, we finished integrating Niger Delta. Oh, wait, so now you are working. Okay, excellent. So the first thing we want to do is to start developing, well, we want to develop Cameroon Ridge, but in that process, first we need to settle all the tribesmen, because you can't culturally or religiously convert tribesmen. So we're going to start settling those guys now. There's a decent few thousand, so we get them settling. This is what you need to do to get access to lead, bro. Like, it's crazy. I'm going to start the annexation of Ouagadougou. Should be done pretty quick, only a couple of years. I am going to pay to create a market in Fumban, as that is where I want to build the city and stuff. I'll also build a city in there, like, preemptively. We'll also want to build a local road network for the markets. Build a road to Fumban at very least, so we can transport troops across easier. So there we go. Fumban has its own market now, and it's going to compete with other local markets. Now, it only has a market value of 84 and basically no trade capacity. It's not a big deal. We will sort that out. All right, there we go. We have access to the arquebusiers, which is perfect. Now we want to research the pistoliers so that we can upgrade our cavalry. I would like better cannons as well, and better baggage trains. Better guns workshop would be fantastic. So we're going to research pistoliers. Then we are going to go for army morale, better gun workshops. We do eventually want the better bastions, because those are going to be super good at defending us. But right now, I think I want to focus on getting better military, better units. Then I'm going to go for the chambered cannon, plus the barracks, plus the cannon workshops. We're going to start working on upgrading our military. We want to have a strong army, first of all, as far as I'm concerned. So now we want to recruit a bunch of those arquebusiers to this cavalry army, about 30. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here and begin the recruitment process. This is going to be expensive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was a huge amount of manpower, but this will absolutely lead to us having a dominant military, at least a single strong army that can punch. And the idea here is we have 30 cavalry that can join the fight really quickly, plus a bunch of infantry in reserve who are ready to take up the fight once the cavalry drop out of the fight. So the idea is the cavalry are the shock, they hit first, alongside like probably some artillery. I'm probably going to want a little bit of artillery up front too, but it'll be part of the process. Like, look at, we just burnt so much manpower. We're going to need more. So inside the Niani market, we pretty much maxed out our armories. What about inside the Rosso market? Yeah, we can get a little bit more going. Now, unfortunately, our piddly little transport fleet of 4,000 is not going to transport this army anymore. But France is probably going to think twice about declaring war on me once we have this up. And I want to have a couple of these big, monstrous stacks. But yeah, now that we have this absolutely gigantic army, which we will continue to upgrade and update, pretty much once we have the pistoliers, I would feel pretty comfortable having a good chance of fighting off France if we can build a second stack of this with, if we can have 2 of these stacks with upgraded cavalry, artillery, infantry, I think we're cooking. Oh, you right click to move to the reserves. I see. That's how you micromanage your armies. Good to know. Perfect. We have finished integrating Missouri. So let's continue developing. Oh, I gotta replace a person here. Let's continue developing this piece of territory over here. We are settling tribesmen, so we should start to see tribesmen settling down. I would like to start increasing our province control here, as I believe that tribesmen might assimilate faster if there's a higher level of control here. Although that might not be true, but I would have to assume, because your pop promotion rate is based on control. So my hope is that by increasing control, we can increase the rate at which we get this province under control. So I think the goal is to make use of this as a location to do printer shop stuff, because our printer shop production efficiency should be absolutely absurd thanks to the lead and lumber being produced here. So I'm going to max out the printer's shop as soon as we finished the construction guild. Okay, so Ouagadougou has been annexed, which means we are spreading ourselves across the continent in a very nice way. See, this is the previous land that we annexed. We're about to get Bono. I'm going to start annexing Nungu and Borgu. Well, I'll wait till Bono goes through and then I'll annex Nungu. Right, so Bono has been annexed, and we also have access to Pistoliers. And I decided to do a bit of a doctrine change with my armies. We are going to have to upgrade these to Pistoliers. We'll create a new unit without the cannons here too. I'll kind of go over the doctrine change that I'm planning, but the short version of the story is I'm going to have a couple of cavalry armies. Oh, I didn't realize I was at war. Well, this is a good opportunity for this cavalry army to do its job. But yeah, our army's reinforcing is going to cost us a lot of manpower, but that's fine. We also do need to keep in mind our army maintenance, which is getting high. We have a pretty big army. Like, we're maintaining a massive force, like to the point where if we were to declare war on France, our allied armies are pretty strong. Like, we're almost able to take on France, and that's including them with the Ottomans as their ally, which I kind of think is BS. I'll start improving opinion with the Ottomans. Maybe I can make them my ally. So I've maxed out armories across my country to try to squeak out a little bit more manpower. We'll see how that goes. Genuinely, our current army is just an absolute vampire for resources. Fun fact about friendly armies is they actually provide control. I think it's relative to the population. So if I like park an army over here, like it's worth 2% control over here, but if I park this army in Medina, it should be worth a non-zero amount of control. Yeah, there's plus 6%. I gotta imagine it's like if you have the same number of troops as population in the army in the location, you get extra control. But so it's a small little thing. I think it has an effect on unrest too. All right, so let's start converting to Sunniism the people of the Cameroon Ridge, and then we want to start integrating them into our culture, because we need this to be core territory. It is already core territory, which is fantastic. And then I want to assimilate Pops into Mandike in Cameroon Ridge. So I've got all my guys working here. We're converting, we're increasing control, we're assimilating, we're settling tribesmen. I think the last thing that we want to be doing is developing the province, which will happen when this guy's done integrating Kebi, to just try and get access to more lead. A bunch of our colonies have finished up, so I'm going to start firing off new ones. Genuinely surprised that no one else is colonizing. Quite baffled, really, because it's free real estate, bro. I mean, sure, I don't have a lot of control over that land, but that's besides the point. So we're annexing Nungu. Let's start annexing Borgu as well. So there is a bonus to our assault ability, so we should have a better time assaulting places. Brigida has formed a colony, which I believe is down here. Oh no, it was here. Whoopsies. Whoops. Well, I guess we have another colonial nation down here. It's whatever. Okay, coming to Fomban. I think part of our strategy is going to be making use of this as a center of trade. And so we're going to start building some roads here to improve our market access. If we go to the market access map mode and we hover over here, you can see transportation distance to market is minus 16%, whereas here it's only 7.5, 13%, 2%, 7%. It's already 34% out here. So if we want to use this as a center of power, I think it does make sense to build a bunch of radial roads with the purpose of capturing the trade value in the area. So I'm going to radiate out a few roads here. Just range 3. Range 3 is fine. 4 would feel overkill. It'll take a while to get them all built, but that's fine. So this is Karakina. I'm going to create a new colony down here in the south for Karakina. It's in the Colser trade node. I would not mind helping this area out with even more colonies, which we're absolutely going to do. We do have a couple of natural harbors down here, so I'll tell you what, in Kabubu, we'll create a colony here. Perfect. I've just realized that there was a much more efficient path for the canal city, and it was these 4 right here for the canals that I should have built. Jesus Christ, I'm shocked. Oh boy, that's embarrassing. Right, so I don't think we need to continue assimilating this province, because most of the population now upwards of 60-70% at the lowest possible end. Like I think the lowest is 72% is already our culture. So instead of and similar things are true for the religion. We're at 90%. We don't need to keep converting it. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to find someone with good admin stats, Musa Kita here, and I'm going to make him develop this province. We need that local monthly development so that we can eventually get more lead and honestly just build more stuff in here. We're also going to encourage urbanization in the area, and we'll encourage migration too into the city so we can build this up to have a lot of printer shops. So the hope is that we'll see a bunch of population from across this region migrating into this city. I'm hoping that we're going to get a lot of pop growth. That pop growth in conjunction with the high development is going to give us the ability to build a lot of buildings here, because both population and development dictates how many buildings you can build in a location. So I'm hoping that by centralizing as many population in here as possible, we will have a very robust setup. All right, we've finished with encouraging tribesmen, so we don't need to do that anymore. Question is, do we have lead anywhere else in our country? There's one down here that we could go get one day. I suppose let's work on integration. So if we look at the province of Farakala, mostly they have already converted to Sunniism, but we need to get them to convert to our religion. I'm wondering if we got a culture and we sort culture by the largest, is Mossy big enough to accept? It is not. So let's grab this cabinet member and we're going to set you to assimilating pops into our culture in Guirico. So now we need to start spreading the green through the yellow areas. Now I made this into a weapons forge. So we have an absurd amount of weapons being cranked out here, but we're also using a lot of wood, a lot of iron, and a lot of tools. So we probably want to get our handle on some coal and all that sort of stuff to make this cheaper. But I am happy with the amount of weapons we have, because keeping that cheap in our economy is going to be really useful. And so this is the new army doctrine that I've decided to go with. And it's actually quite a simple doctrine. It's 10, 20, 10, 10. Or in other words, is there a place I can show you what the makeup of this army is? It's got to be somewhere, right? Oh, here it is. Okay. So 10 infantry, 20 cavalry, 10 artillery, 10 auxiliary. And the later game version of this would be more infantry heavy, basically. But because we're playing as Mali and we have a 15% cavalry power boost, I think cavalry still have a bit of relevance. So the cavalry will still do a bit of work for us. And then the artillery actually gives this army the ability to siege down stacks. So my goal is to try to build 3 of these. That might be hard with our current level of manpower, but we will be researching soon the barracks building. And in theory, the barracks will double. No, it'll increase our monthly manpower amount by 50%, roughly speaking. Now is a good time to expand our paved road network. So I'm going to run that. I don't necessarily want to run aristocratic support, but I will blow up some merchants guilds. I'm going to click on my capital and build all the roads that I can to optimize for control, especially in the newly acquired territories that we're looking towards later. Beautiful. So we've got tier 2 gun workshops now. I had a ton of gun workshops in Dakjalan, if I remember correctly. So right now they're gunsmiths that use iron and tools to make guns well, let me see. So gunsmiths can use iron and tools to make guns, and iron and saltpeter. But weapons workshops, the upgraded, oh no, that's a different thing entirely. I suppose if I just build one, I'll know, right? Yeah, that's like the gun thing. So build a gun workshop. And what do you use? So you use basically the same thing. So you produce between 1.1 and 1, and you use slightly less resources for the same amount of gun production, which is great. Gonna delete a bunch of my gun workshops and centralize production in Dakjalan. Tabu is fine because it's an iron producing province. I definitely want to replace at least the 14 that we already have with the higher level one. Okay, our cabinet is finished integrating Kebi. We should probably keep integrating. There's a couple of like small, you know what? That's so little people. I don't care if they rebel. I'm probably a lot more intrigued by the idea of integration. Yeah, like over here, we could integrate these. So let me grab my cabinet member, and I want you to assimilate population into Mandika in this location. Thank you. So stone, gold, and livestock are produced here. Well, since livestock are produced here, that would make this a decent place to run some tanneries. So I'll run that in both of these cities. But then probably also want to run jewelers guilds for the extra efficiency they'll have here. And then on the stone front, I don't even know if you can make weapons out of stone anymore. You can't be on the first tech level. So I suppose we could make a saltpeter guild. It does use mostly cattle. That is used for gun production. So that is what these areas are going to be efficient at. That's what they're going to do best. Then if we come into Falaba in Sulemana, we've got Medicine, Saffron, Lumber, Saffron. So I think Saffron doesn't actually get turned into anything. It's just a good that gets eaten for happiness or something. I'm not entirely sure what it's used for. But definitely we could look into like carpentry. We would have a significant bonus to our carpentry here due to the supply of lumber. So not bad to build carpenters here. Then Loco here has grains, fish, lumber, rice, iron. Oh, iron. Iron's the tools 100% of the time. Tools and weapons. There is a nice iron mine here in Kissi, which makes me want to develop Arabinda into a much bigger city. Now, what dictates the max level of the building again? It's mostly development, isn't it? Like if I go back to Niani, the max level of these is almost entirely decided by development, but also turning it into a city is a big one. So if we could get Arabinda to be turned into a city, that would actually be huge. Because it would be right on an iron deposit, which would mean this would be a very efficient place to produce products from iron. So I'll start building out some tools guilds. Oh, we're cultural hegemon, so we should have access to assimilate area. Well, how is economic hegemon decided? It's about income. Well. Let me change what you're doing. I'm going to get you to assimilate area. We'll assimilate that whole area. And then I'll get you to assimilate a really big area as well. So this will be slower in one way, but faster because it's affecting a larger area, which has its own benefits. It's the power of having this many libraries. Our vassal has declared war on Venice. Well, not a bad time. Let's have a look at the diplomacy map mode. Mostly it's going to take place in the South American theater. Well, hopefully this small cavalry army can do most of the work for us. There's Borgu annexed. Num 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 num. Now he is mine, just Nungu and Nupe to go. I'm happy to see that. The market access in this area is really low. We could justify another market. I'm thinking somewhere along this river, like if we look at the population map mode, you're kind of not on the river, but you actually make a really good city location already. Be a great market center. The problem is you haven't lost your access yet by then. I'm going to make Libor here a market center. It's going to require 11,000 gold. I changed my mind. I'm not spending 11,000 gold on that. Jesus. All right, let's mass build some paper workshops across my markets. Yes, we get the better cannons now. Perfect. We'll let those paper workshops build themselves now for a while. Take a couple of years. Now, what does it require to become the naval hegemon? That's another question. Greater than 71 heavy ships. Jesus Christ. Well, we don't have plans for going for that, at least. Now, Yagan is where? It's down here. I'm going to let it join Karokinka. Oh, something I need to remember to do is to upgrade my cannons, because they're currently like basically the weakest cannon in the game. Whereas upgrading it now, it should have 6 times as much strength, as well as like way better stats. Nungu has been annexed. Perfect. I think we just gained all of their tiles as cores. Lovely, seeing that beautiful green color. I think I'm going to grab one of my guys here. I don't need you to be encouraging urbanization anymore. I'm going to switch you over to... Am I no longer cultural hegemon? Can I not do that more than twice? Okay, only one advisor can do an assimilate area order. Interesting. I did not know that. But it is resulting in a pretty rapid assimilation of people in this area. But I still want you to come and assimilate Muhun, please. Let's build all of our trade capacity buildings in here. So I'll grab my trading hub, my market warehouse, sorry, not the market warehouse. Oh, the market warehouse does give trade capacity, so we may as well. I want the entrepot. We'll leave it there for now. We're chiefly concerned about getting trade capacity into this market. It should, in theory, get exported or imported things that it needs. Beautiful. So we now have access to the new barracks building. It's going to be relatively expensive to build, but it will give us a roughly 50% increase in our manpower. in all the places that we have armories. So if we look for buildings in any market and we type in armory, so the regular armory uses half a gun, whereas the barracks uses a full gun. So it uses twice as many materials for only a 50% increase. It does allow you to train more regiments, but the nice thing is it doesn't actually take any more manpower or more population space. So nicely enough, upgrading isn't as expensive as building outright. All right, let's go ahead and grab barracks. Anywhere we can build barracks, I would like to do so. Okay, I'm stealing a bunch of land from Venice. I'm humiliating them. I'm taking this. Boom. Let me talk to this country. I want to cede you Pankara, and then Paraiba, I want to cede you the entire province of Paraiba, because I don't want to have to control the colonial stuff. That's your job. It's weird, sometimes there's like little holes in the map that I can't really explain, because we should be colonizing those, but you don't have the option to. It's kind of funky. So I just got a free city in Tondibi. I'm going to max out the livestock and all the infrastructure buildings here, like the merchants' quarters, the library, etc. Also, I want to build a pound lock canal and some granaries in here. Those are always nice to build. Ideally upgrade the armory as well, and all our, whatever you call them, buildings. The buildings that holy people work in. The clergy buildings. And that'll keep you busy for a while. Oh my god, look at that graph, dude. I thought we were increasing the power of our country quickly in the past, but now this tax base is going wild. Now, this army is just missing its artillery and its supply carts. So there's its artillery, and we'll build its supply carts over here. And then it will have reached its final form. And we'll have 2 of these 18k stacks that we can fight France with. All right, beautiful. We have annexed basically all of our vassals. There's a few over here that we need to get a hold of. Then we'll go ahead and conquer Oyo. Right, let's improve opinion with some of these vassals who don't like us very much due to the annexations we've been pulling off. Perfectly understandable. It's not nice to think that, you know, you're next on the chopping block. Lovely. There's the cannon workshop, which is the more advanced type of the cannon maker. It looks like it is a more efficient producer. It makes more from the same goods, it seems. It seems like it also uses less tools at the higher level, relying more on iron, which is good. So more efficient and leaning towards iron. Perfect. Tech-wise, we were in the process of still focusing heavily on improving our military economy, but I feel like now, well, I feel kind of, well, we're not in the age of absolutism, so we should stick to the age of Reformation here. Lancers are cavalry that don't require guns, and pikemen are infantry that don't require guns. They do seem to have lower stats, 1.5, as compared to the, oh, it's 1.5 as well. So the main difference is these are every 20 arquebusiers uses up a gun and a thing, whereas pikemen are seemingly just a little bit cheaper to maintain. I don't see them having like any special abilities. They're just infantry, right? Yeah, seems like it. So pistoliers have good initiative, but infantry have a very useful ability here. I can actually show you it. It doesn't show up in their stats, which is kind of annoying. They have this ability right here. Secure flanks. Basically, this unit will take less damage if there are friendly units in a neighboring section. And this is doubled, so it'll take third of a normal damage. That's why infantry work really well in the center of a lane, because they will get the secure flanks bonus. Now, I don't know, do arquebusiers get that same bonus, I wonder? They are infantry. Yeah, they get the secure flanks bonus. Whereas cavalry, like the pistoliers, or the pistoliers rather, they don't get the secure flanks bonus because instead they get really strong flanking ability. So the pinnace seems to be a really good trade ship. That would be nice to get a hold of. I also really want the baggage train. It's the modern version of the supply wagon, so I'm going to start researching that. That will force us to get some reinforcement speed, recruitment speed, but I'm not upset about having to do that. I wouldn't mind getting the shipyard. It's a lot of sailors and harbor capacity. We are gonna need heavy ships if we're gonna do reverse colonization. If we're gonna colonize Europe, we are gonna need to do something about that. But we could maybe focus on the land portion of things for a little while, because there's still a lot of Africa for us to colonize. Like, I mean, look at that. I mean, I should probably make sure we get some more of these colonies going. But yeah, I'm going to focus on, can we improve our economy now with the Age of Reformation? Or is there stuff from the Age of Discovery that we could have picked up that we never did that was actually pretty decent? I remember we had a whole bunch of stuff queued up, but then France declared war on us. We had to kind of pivot. We had to pivot. Haven't even touched global trade. I would like the Better Tools Workshop. It turns 0.7 iron into 1 at level 1, but the Better Tools Workshop turns 0.8 into 1.1. So it's a less than 10% increase for a 10%, and a 10%, less than a 10% increase in input for a 10% increase in output, which is definitely feels efficient. So I'll start working towards that tools workshop. That should help us with our tool supply, because really one of the big problems we have is just getting RGOs is so difficult. At least it feels like it in Africa. I don't know, maybe it's easier in other places, but man, like getting my hands on iron, you just think about how much I have focused on getting my hands on iron this game and how much we're still struggling with it. I also don't really understand trade routes. Like, it seems like an awful lot of micromanagement to manage trade routes, and it doesn't feel intuitive, and the UI isn't very good. But there is something like really interesting and fun about this game, because you are like you're a gardener. You're tending to a garden. Well, I'm tempted to turn Kaba into a city, actually, because it has a really high development and a ton of buildings already. Let's do it. We'll lose a few of these rural buildings, but that's okay. So there is our second boom stack. 10 infantry, 20 cavalry, 10 artillery, 10 auxiliaries. I would like to make a third one of those. Also, I need to do a bit of a strength comparison to France. They have 36,000 regulars. Infantry, cavalry, artillery. They have a pretty big military. So I only just realized that Timbuktu has a pretty severe shortage of paper. -20, and I think they might even be already importing some. Yeah. So if there's no problem getting the resources, there's no reason not to just build a bunch of printers here. So I'm just going to max out the paper workshops in Timbuktu to feed this market, and then we'll shift the demand down the line to the buildings that feed that. Okay, France claims they have a religious casus belli on us, which is wonderful, because that means they're preparing to go to war with us. It's a little bit sooner than I would like, but we can make it work. So what is the path that the trade route between Rosso and you is taking? It looks like it's kind of going this weird way. The good news is we get to try out these new army stacks with these rebellions that have happened. I do like to see a +6 bonus to siege. It does still say we're likely to fail an assault, but with a siege going that quickly, doesn't matter. For a second, I thought this said not Benin when it says North Benin. But also my name just like sprawls across them in like an unhinged fashion. Ooh, so we got proclaimed as military hegemon, soldiers as workforce. Oh, so we could use construction speed. We can also violate the sovereignty of someone, and war score is cheaper. So currently we are the military hegemon and the cultural hegemon. I might set myself the goal to become each kind of hegemon. Maybe not so much the diplomatic hegemon, because that one sounds annoying to get diplo rep. But certainly like economic, naval, and cultural, those seem very doable. Anyway, we've developed Kaba into a city. It could very easily, or rather into a town, it could pretty much immediately become a city. I'm going to build a construction center in here because I would like to be able to build multiple things. And I'm okay with the city mostly being a food production location, which is not helped by the fact that it is a city, but that's fine, or that it is urban. But yeah, we're going to make it into a city. That will be lovely. So genuinely, we've reached a point where the game has slowed down to a crawl. Like, I just recorded 2 hours, and I think my last save, when I started recording these 2 hours, and I've been at speed 5 pretty much the entire time, only pausing like to make a few decisions here or there. When was my last save? 1602. That was 12 years ago, or 13 years ago. It took me 2 hours to get 13 years of gameplay in. That feels a little slow. I'm going to be real with you, because like, let me just quickly save this, right? And if we load up a new game, purely for demonstration purposes, this, right? I even restarted the game just for this, to make the test a little bit more pure, so to speak. So let's just, for the sake of argument, let's hit the observe button so that we don't even have to play a country, right? We can just not interfere, okay? Watch. When I hit full speed, look how fast these days go. Now remember, the days in my save file was like tick, 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 tick. Like, this is so much faster. So whatever happens, calculation-wise, that just causes this madness is, well, it's hard to deal with, man. It makes playing the game way too slow. I want to finish up. I feel like I want to keep playing the game, but the performance has just become so bad once you reach the final ages of the game, which kind of feels crappy because, like, I really want to know what happens down here in the Age of Absolutism. Like, there's content down there that I want to explore. Like, you've got all these, like, peasant land inheritance, licensing of the press, recognition of local policies. You've got manufactory, scientific revolution, the military revolution, right? You're going to get a lot more money from your colonial subjects, but your subjects become more loyal. And I really want to see the Age of Revolutions, where, like, subjects start trying to rebel, and levies are basically useless. Oh, construction center maxed out +5. Oh, that is an interesting one. Yeah, I really want to get down here, and I feel like I'm not allowed, because the game performance, once you get to the Age of Reformation, the game performance is just, and it sucks. So I hope they can do something for the game's performance. I'll be real with you though, I don't ever think we'll see really good performance improvements for this game. So probably future videos. And, like, here's the thing, I want to play Beyond here, but yeah, I think probably future videos. I've invested now like dozens of hours into this game to try and bring this video series to you. And I really do think that the game just needs a lot of really fundamental work. It's a fun game, but it's not EU4, and I don't think it's as good to play. It's a better game fundamentally, but it's not as good to play as EU4. EU4 is a lot better to play. EU4 plays better, but this game is fun. Yeah, if I have the energy, I'll probably make like a little mini review video, but that's it. I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.